Hey everyone, today in this video we're talking about my pre-rut strategy going into the 2024 pre-rut hunting season. Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel. Ryan Nordahl here, Epic Whitetail Habitat LLC. If you haven't already, or you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell notification. That way every time I upload a new video, you get that notification right away. And hey, any of the products or tools you see me using in these videos, you can always find links in the description below. But anyway, today I want to talk about my perfect rut funnel and how I've set this up to be an effective little spot. What I like to look for is I like to look for where a lot of trails come together and intersect, especially along an edge. Now, this is kind of a schematic, a rough schematic of the property that I'll be hunting quite a bit on because of my target buck, who is frequenting the area a lot these last few days. We're the 22nd, I believe, of October right now as I'm making this video. And he's very active in this area. He's very daylight active. This is a relatively small woods that I'm hunting. It encompasses 40 acres. But out here to the west, there's probably about 15 to 20 acres of field. There's a little island of woods out here. But my primary focus is this 11-acre piece of timber, swamp, and creek bottom that I'm hunting on this particular property. It is connected to my family farm, but I hunt it as a separate property than the family farm. My parents live on this parcel as well, this 40-acre parcel. They live up here in the northeast corner, and that's essentially where my access is. On a north or on a southwest wind, my wind should be blowing this way out into the neighbors. The problem I have a little bit though is I do get a little bit of wind swirl, so I need a consistent, probably 10 to 15 mile an hour wind for that wind to consistently blow back to the northeast. I get a little bit of wind swirl there, but that's where the ozonics comes into play. I don't trust up ozonics 100%. I'm not saying that it's absolute foolproof tool to have, but I have it for that insurance policy. It's just like taking a shower and scent killer soap, anything like that, making sure that my clothes are scent free and anything. I always try to play the wind, but that ozonics is there as an insurance policy, and it has helped me in the past. But primary access is from my parents' house down the east edge of their property line into here. All these little trail systems, there's probably about 4 or 5 trails, and this hog's back here. This is a big swamp right in directly behind my parents' house. It's mostly maple and scattering of burr white oak in here. But then over here on the field side of the creek, a lot more maple, hardwood maple, red oak, black oak, and a lot of nice white oak in there as well. But here about, 20 years ago, 23 years ago, we had a bad windstorm come in and knock down the majority of timber in this 11-acre parcel of woods. So a lot of it along this field edge, this east field edge, is all about 20 to 23-year-old hardwood regeneration with a few little pine in there. And we're introducing some pine, mainly spruce and white pine. Come this spring, we'll be implementing a few pockets in there just to increase the thermal effect in there. But getting back to the pre-rut, why I like this so much, because of that definite edge. You have the creek and the swamp right here creating that definite edge from the hardwoods. And we've come in here in the last 4 or 5 years, and it's been a continuation of hinge cuts. I go in there every spring, early summer, and I'm doing a lot of hinge cuts. There's also some elm in here, which hinge cut really well over the soft silver maple that are in here. I'm trying to leave as much oak as I can, but there is a time and a place, and knowing what to look for in an oak tree, whether I want to hinge cut it or not. I don't like to, especially the white oaks, but not every oak tree is going to be a prime acorn producing tree or a lumber tree in the future. So, we're being very, very particular on that, what we're hinge cutting and everything, but mostly the soft silver maple and the elm in there. And we're creating this funnel. We're setting the trap for this. And this is why I like this and why it's part of my pre-rut strategy, because I get a lot of cruising on this primary. They come off the neighbors quite a bit. Now I get quite a few deer that bed here along this edge, especially does and fawns, bed up along this edge. Then I've got this small little kill plot right here. The stand location is right here. I come across this little secondary creek through this little marsh grass area, about a half-acre marsh grass area, and right up. And this is all uphill then from here. Not extremely. It's probably about a 20-foot increase in topography from the creek bottom to the field edge. So it's gradually uphill, but not extremely uphill where it's steep or anything like that. But I get a lot of does and fawns stacked up along this cornfield edge. But I do get a few buck beds along here. But this main travel corridor, all the way out to the north end of the property before they cross the road, is loaded with rubs and scrapes along here. I have a mock scrape in this location as well that gets heavily used because of the secondary trails that come in. There is actually a secondary trail that comes off of this hogsback. What is a hogsback? We call it a hogsback because it's in the middle of the swamp. It's a high area, high ground area in the middle of the swamp, just full of bur oak in there. The deer absolutely love it. It's thick with tag alders all the way around it and everything. So there's a lot of bucks that bed in here. You'll go in here postseason and it'll be just loaded with rubs, even a few scrapes in there from the lower hanging branches. But my strategy behind it is I have a licking vine from my mock scrape in here. They come in here, they get a little clover and chicory is what I have it planted to. Get a little bite to eat in here. But on any westerly wind, I've set this anywhere from a southwest wind, west wind to a northwest wind. And guys, I'm telling you, they love coming along this travel corridor. Then the bucks do, because then they're scent checking all this. All these does and fawns that are stacked up in here, especially the does coming into heat this time of year, the pre-rut, they're checking out, looking for those first signs of does coming into heat. It sets up really well. It's something that you need to look for on your property as well. I can help you find it, but it's what to look for on your property if you have a property that's similar to this. How do I get in here on a northwest wind? Well, primarily, I'm coming in here. I plan on an all-day sit. Now, you hear other people in the industry say, you should never sit one particular stand all day. You should have a morning set and then where you're going in the afternoon. This sets up absolutely well for an all-day sit. Why? Because early in the morning, I can get in here 2 hours before daylight. Thermals are still settling at that time, but they're settling right back down in the creek. I don't get any deer out here. It's probably, like I said, it's a half acre. All my scent, if there is any wind, is blowing out in here, but the thermals are pulling down into that creek. Your thermals want to settle into the lowest spot possible. That's why this sets up so well for thermals. As it warms up during the day, rising, if I get any kind of wind whatsoever, out of the west, from southwest to northwest, like I said, it's blowing my scent back over into the neighbors. Isn't a lot of deer bedding opportunity on my neighbors over here whatsoever. There's a few spots, but by the time my scent would get to that, it's pretty much dissipated anyway, so I'm not worried about it whatsoever. I've seen a lot of deer here, but now is the time to go after the buck that I'm after. I'm after one particular buck that I call Holmes. Many of you who've been following me on my other social media platforms know who I'm talking about. He's a great mainframe 10-pointer. Definitely ripe for the picking this year. He's probably only a 4.5-year-old deer is my guess, but he could be 5.5. He does have a tendency once in a while to make you think that he's 5.5. Not a lot of history with him, so I'm not 100% sure on his age, but he's definitely 4.5. But that's why I love this strategy so well. you want to look for those areas that have that natural, or that have that edge. It doesn't necessarily have to be a natural edge like this swamp allows to be, the swamp edge. It can be a clear-cut edge. It can be that even out on the edge of a field where there's security cover right up next to the edge of the field. I try to set up my brother's property that way, where there's security cover right to the edge of his fields. There isn't a lot I can do on my brother's main farm, on his main 160 acres, where we're just primarily hunting the very south edge of that, because it's primarily open ag ground for the most part. Not a lot of timber on it. A little couple fingers of swamp in it that do hold some deer once in a while, but it's very hard, very difficult to hunt. Wind kind of picked up here a little bit. But I'm going to leave you with that. Hopefully you learned something from this a little bit, and I painted a little bit of a picture of what I'm doing and what's going to work for me and what has worked for me in the past. We've killed a lot of does in this area early in the season, not this year, but in years past. But now that we've had a shooter buck in here, we've laid off a shooting does on this particular parcel of the farm, and it's going to set up well for killing this buck. Not necessarily killing him, but at least having those daylight encounters with him, and he is very daylight active on this little piece of property. So his core area encompasses not only our property, but the other two properties just to the north of my parents' house as well. But it's a very small area. He's through this area about once every couple days, and it's becoming more and more frequent all the time. He was just in here the other day. He actually will lay right in this little kill plot. It's fun to watch him and observe him, but it's very hard to put a sneak on a deer that's like that. It would have been great to have been in there early in the morning and capitalize on that opportunity, but hey, it is what it is. Priorities come first. I was taking care of my kids that day, and that's just the way it was. But I just wanted to share that with you and what my pre-rut strategy looks like going into these next few days on this one particular buck on this one particular property. So I hope you found it somewhat helpful and educational on what you should be looking for a great pre-rut setup come this fall yet. It's about to get wild here, folks. It's about to bust loose. We've got a good cold front coming in these next couple days. Going to drop the temperature. We're going to see an increase in buck activity, especially, I should say, pre-rut activity, especially with the younger deer. Keeping in mind that peak breeding season and when the big boys really get active, we're still a couple weeks away from that. You're going to see a lot of buck rut activity coming up here in these next few days as it cools down. But I still believe that we're still about 10 days to 2 weeks away from when the big mature bucks are really going to be on their feet. But I have a good mature deer that's on his feet now, going to be active. I do believe that this colder weather will get him on his feet, get him moving in daylight hours. And I'm going to be there to capitalize on it. You can guarantee it. God bless you all. Keep living the dream. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell notification. Thanks for joining me on this video. I'm sorry that it got a little long, but for those of you that stayed to the end, I greatly appreciate you. Thank you very much. God bless you. Keep living the dream.